You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
Well, here we go, guys. We're going to be talking about a subject that we've covered quite a bit here on this channel. And we're talking about men going over into women's sports. So men identifying as women, the whole trans thing, going over into women's sports and dominating the competition. It has become a political issue. And I believe that Joe Biden has made no bones about it, man, that he is perfectly okay with that. That is a part of the left's agenda to destroy women's sports. Now, when it comes to Joe Biden and women, let's look at what MSNBC put out here. This is from 2020, guys. It says here, this is how women voters decided the 2020 election. Early exit polls show Biden winning the votes of 57% of women compared to 45% of men. In comparison, President Trump won 42% of women's votes and 53% of men's. So Joe Biden, almost 60% of women supposedly voted for him. And what has he done? He has advocated for men to actually go over into women's sports. Now, guys, the election is coming up next year. Will women actually change their mind? Because, guys, Corinne JeanPierre, who is supposed to be the voice of Biden, gave a pretty disturbing answer, man, when it actually comes to the whole men and women's sports things. I mean, look at this, guys, on Breitbart. It's complicated. White House refuses to say whether boys playing girls' sports is a women's rights issue. Well, the way I look at it, guys, it is clearly a women's rights issue because women are having their spaces invaded by men. It's just that simple. There's nothing complicated about this thing. And this administration wants to be so woke that they won't even actually go out there and protect women. Why? Because the trans activists, man, would be outraged if the Biden administration actually came out and said, you know what? Women's sports is for women. Men's sports is for men. They're going to be outraged by that. Because to the super duper votes that only represent about 0.5% of people that actually agree with this, Joe Biden wants to pander to these people. This is disturbing, guys. Look here. It says White House Press Secretary Corinne JeanPierre, who is the worst at her job ever, refused to answer yes or no when asked Tuesday whether Beijing Biden thought it was fair that biological males compete as females in sports. Instead, she said that it is a, quote, complicated issue with a wide range of views. There should be nothing complicated about this. Now, the only Democrat that I can actually think of that does not want biological men in women's sports is, you probably guessed it, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy. He is the only one that is a Democrat that has come out and said, no, this is wrong. And of course, you know, the Democrats, no primaries, by the way, even though Biden, nobody wants Biden to run. I believe it was something like 77% of Democrats or black Democrats, something like that. I don't remember exactly. They don't want Biden to run. Wow. It says here, Fox Business correspondent Hillary Vaughn, who asked the question of JeanPierre during the August 29th White House press conference, noted that during the GOP debate, Nikki Haley insisted that saving women's sports was the, quote, women's issue of our time, and wondered if Biden thinks keeping male-born athletes out of women's sports is a, quote, women's rights issue. Let's go ahead and play this, guys, because this is disturbing. Let's roll it.
Corinne, question on the big election topic, transgender rights. Former Governor Nikki Haley and presidential candidate says, quote, "The idea that we have biological boys playing in girls' sports, it is the women's issue of our time." Does the president agree that this is a women's rights issue?
So we've talked about this many times. This is the Title IX specifically. And again, we've talked about this multiple times. It's a complicated issue, and there are a wide range of views on this. The Department of Education proposed a rule, as you know, that gives schools the flexibility to establish their own athletics policies. And so while establishing guardrails, right, to prevent discrimination against transgender kids. And that is something that is incredibly important, that the president wants to make sure that we also do that as well. So I'm just not going to get ahead of that. As I said, there's a proposed rule Title IX, on Title IX that the Department of Education has laid out. So I'm just not going to get ahead of that as it relates to the Department of Education.
Daughters, does he care that girls are allowed to compete in sports without fear of injury? Does he think it's fair for girls to have to compete against biological males?
I just answered the question. It is a complicated issue. It is truly a complicated issue with a wide range of views, There is no yes or no answer to this. It is complicated. There's a rule that the Department of Education has put forward, and we're going to let that process move forward. It is, again, we want to make sure that while we establish guardrails with this rule, that we also prevent discrimination as well against transgender kids. But again, a complicated issue with a wide range of views, and we respect that. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Wow, guys, that is disturbing right there. Now, if I remember correctly, there was a poll that was actually put out, and the vast majority of Americans do not believe that boys should actually be playing in the sport of the opposite sex. Talking about women. The vast majority of Americans, I believe a lot of these people also, Democrats who are actually polled too, and Democrat voters aren't down with that. So there would be no controversy if Corinne JeanPierre just came out and said, hey, we actually need to keep women's sports for women. But we know what they're actually going to say. They're going to say that trans women are women, even though they live all of their lives as males and as men. It is unfair. We have definitely seen, we cover this thing so closely here on both of the channels. This is a problem out there. I'm wondering, guys, why Joe Biden has not sat down with Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines has been at the forefront of actually trying to prevent women's sports being overtaken by men. Joe Biden has no interest in that because Joe Biden wants to pander. Remember, during Pride Month, Joe Biden had this whole alphabet party at the White House, and this trans activist got nude. And the backlash was so immense, man, that the White House banished this person from the White House. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden had nothing to do with that. Joe Biden also had Dylan Mulvaney at the White House. Why? I have no idea why. But when it comes to this issue of trans athletes in women's sports, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. There should be nothing controversial about this. And women that are actually listening to what Corinne JeanPierre actually said, how in the world can you actually still go out there and support Joe Biden? Remember, 57% of women in 2020 allegedly voted for Joe Biden. And now Joe Biden is actively out there not supporting women, keeping women's sports for women. That's a concern. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and White Sports 2 fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.